Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and you guys know what time it is. It's time for a channel update, and I'm going to discuss with you guys a little bit of what's going to happen different with my training in this coming phase, because I've kept everyone up with that, and people don't always have time to watch the vlogs. They can't always keep up, so this is just going to give a brief idea of what I'm changing moving forward. Because a lot of people noticed, obviously a couple months ago, I changed from standard conjugate over to where I do an upper lower max effort day every single day, 7 days a week other than my deloads. And I did it 17 days in a row before a deload the first time. Then I went 40 days and then a deload. Um, and it's worked very, very well. I feel like I've gained muscle, gained strength. I have to build my lifestyle around it. I've made videos explaining how I recover from all of that, but essentially it's been an upper, lower, upper, lower. So it's like a max effort bench day, followed by a ton of accessory work, then a max effort squat day accessory work, then a bench day accessory work, and then a deadlift day accessory work repeat. In this coming phase, I'm going to do stuff slightly different, keeping on the same idea of one of my bench days is going to turn into an overhead press day. Now, that means that the accessory work is going to be a little more heavily biased there. I'm going to start doing a lot more chest work on the bench days. My bench is going to be geared towards wider grip benching. Now, normally I've always said that can be problematic, but I've also come to realize that it's usually the amount of volume you're doing with wide grip that's an issue. If you build everything up gradually and you do what I'm doing at that point to where I'm basically doing singles like once every 4 days. So I'm not going to be coming in doing, 10, 15 reps, 20 reps of work with the wide grip. I'm doing it just for max effort work. I'm going to always use an arch so that we can limit range of motion a little bit so that we're not putting his shoulders into as much of a compromised position, paying a lot of attention to shoulder health, which I've been doing massively lately. I think it's workable and it should allow me to get the best bench possible. And I have to think in those terms as someone who is not gifted at the bench press. My squat and my deadlift way exceed my bench press. If you look at charts, it's very obvious. I literally have to add 50 pounds to my bench press for it to be considered at the same level that my squat and my deadlift are. I got to add 50 pounds to it. But that's what you guys have seen me do. You've watched me take my squat up this last training phase, right here at the start of the year. In January, I hit a 552-pound squat with no wraps, no sleeves, high bar. Pulled a 605 deadlift and held it for 3 seconds at the lockout that set it down under control. These are meet legal lifts. So that's what I did. But I also, this last phase, I added in a bunch of grip specialization because my grip was becoming an issue. So holding that lockout was good. That was really good. That shows that the grip training and all the forearm training that I'm putting in is paying off, which will also carry over to the benching. Okay, this coming phase, we're going to continue everything the way we've done it, more or less for the squatting and deadlifting because that's on point. It's moving along great. Changing more and more of the upper body. My overall training is slightly more biased towards upper body right now because I do rows and curls on my lower body days. So that I have the other days, the other 50% of my training can be dedicated to muscles that help pressing. They're press specialization days rather than upper body days, making up 50% of my training. It's going to be a bench specialization days and overhead pressing specialization days. Mainly because I want to work on the press more. Number two, we can work more on shoulder health and overall shoulder development on those days so that I'm not as worried about the issues from the wider grip, and it lets me not do the wide grip quite as often. Because, doing a max press once every 4 days, that's more than sufficient to maximize the skill. And everything else will be geared around building the support musculature to do that. So the overhead press days are going to be a little more shoulder focused, and the benching days are going to be more chest focused. Obviously, delts and triceps are going to be part of both every single time. Tons of delt and tricep work. It's just that I'll tend to do my various accessory work with a much heavier bias towards pecs on the bench days. And yes, I'm going to spend a lot of time building my pecs up. I need thicker pecs if I want a wide grip bench to be strong. I'm not putting 40 or 50 pounds on my bench press without adding an inch of muscle to my pecs. I'm simply going to have to do it. And that means it might even be stuff like chain flies, band flies, whatever I have to add to all the floor pressing and other stuff to get there, that's what we're going to do while paying attention to shoulder health. Overhead press days are going to be just that. A lot of overhead pressing volume, a lot of delt work, direct delt work, a lot of triceps. Again, build the overhead press. And I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to start, I was probably going to test it obviously with the empty bar, then start going to change. If I have to, use my different barbells. I have 3 different barbells I can overhead press with. Gives me a lot of variation. And I'll probably do a lot of the chain stuff just like I've done on the squatting and deadlifting to build them up. Use a lot of different options. What else am I doing? We're going to go over to a reverse hyper. I ordered one. I'll have it this week. Some people would say, why? It'll let me specialize in my lifts a little more. I've been doing mostly good mornings for my low back. I'm obviously going to keep pushing the hip thrust and glute bridge, with the hip thrust being my biggest accessory. But when I attempted, right before the end of this deload, this last phase, I had pulled a 605 deadlift. I tried 615 off of a deficit. I missed the lockout. And where I noticed my sticking point on the conventional deadlift, it indicates to me that my hamstrings are weak. I need, number one, more hamstring specialization. So I want to really push my glute ham raise, right? A lot more than I have been the good mornings, because that will give me better overall hamstring. I also feel like what ended up happening, my low back was fatigued and cramping for 4 days after that missed pull. That tells me my low back needs more volume, more work capacity, more recovery. The reverse hyper will let me focus more on low back with the reverse hyper in a way that's restorative and helps the low back recover. It's something I'll be able to use every single day. Not worry as much about the good mornings. The problem I run into, I can't do a bunch of hip thrusts and then good mornings and glute ham raises in the same workout. It's way too much. Not in the same day. It will let me replace the good mornings with the glute ham raise. Get better focus on my hamstring, hips, all of that stuff. Things that I need to bring my lifts up. And then I can do the reverse hyper and set it up and do it all the time. I can do it every single day to, again, build stronger erectors. Focus on low back recovery, all these things. Because if I have another workout where I miss a deadlift like that and my low back is throbbing for 4 days, I'm probably going to miss a squat and a deadlift workout. That's not going to work. We need to prevent that from happening. So I feel like this particular device will help me reach that next level on the deadlift, because the goal is to reach for 650 this year. To reach for 650. Well, I'm hoping that in this phase of training, this next block of training, that it's also, because of the grip specialization, the extra low back recovery, that we can try to get another 10 to 20 pounds on the deadlift, right? So hopefully by the end of this phase, we'll pull a clean 615 or to 625. That's what I want to see in this block. We pulled 605 pretty easy. I was able to hold it really strong at the top, control it on the way down. It wasn't an all-out max. It was real close. So I need to take that up. Let's try to shoot for something like 625. And I feel like these are the tools that will help me get there. Tools that will help me get there. Same thing, it'll help me recover more to be able to squat more. Because I do all the chain work. That puts a lot of stress on my back in terms of compressive stress. Because I'm squatting mid 500s trying to get to 600, but I'm doing some of my chain work with over 600 on the walkout now. And putting a lot of compressive stress on my spine. This will help alleviate that. It puts it in traction, helps a lot with spinal recovery, in addition to being an amazing low back builder. So this is the stuff that I need to take everything up to the next level, to the next notch. Doesn't mean that all of you necessarily need to do that, no. But this is what I feel that I need to do to safely take, a 605 deadlift up to 650. This is where I need to go. It's where I need to go to take my 550 squat up to 580 to 600. This is stuff that I need to do. So the other stuff I'm talking about also with the overhead pressing, this is what I need to do to bring up all my weak links, to bring up my bench pressing, to get my bench caught up. So this is how things are for a really advanced lifter. I'm an advanced lifter. Of course, I had someone say, well, how do you quantify that? Well, I squat 550 and deadlift over 600 at 220. That well above the master's chart. If you go to any of those charts, it goes intermediate, advanced, elite. Those are technically elite on the chart, on that chart. Strength standards charts, not necessarily powerlifting charts, but strength standards charts. I'm going to say when you have 2 big lifts that are at the elite mark, and 2 other big lifts that are at the advanced mark, you're an advanced lifter, right? Shouldn't be any doubt about that at that point. So this is what you have to do, guys. If you're an advanced lifter and you're trying to go elite, there are things that you have to fine tune and perfect. You have to pull out a lot more tools in the toolbox. So that's what I'm doing for this coming phase. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.